Since July 2016, there's been a big increase in the number of refugees arriving to northern Uganda from South Sudan, and there's been roughly about 2,500 refugees arriving to Uganda per day, and that number continues to stay the same. When the South Sudanese refugees arrive to Uganda, the first thing that happens is they cross the border, and at the border there is a border collection point where the UN Refugee Agency meets them. The rate at which they're able to register people is about 1,500 refugees per day. Of course, the rate of refugees arriving over the border is about 2,500 per day, so there's pretty much always a backlog in the registration process, which means these reception centers often become overcrowded, where there's just quite a lot of people waiting to get resettled. So once people go to the settlement, Uganda has a fairly progressive policy towards refugees. Once they're registered as refugees in Uganda, they have the right to work, they have the right to circulate the country, and they're also given a 30 meters squared area of land that they can build a house on, or that they can cultivate for vegetables or things like that. Once people are resettled, usually if there's infrastructure available, like water and latrines, they have quite a good place to live. The problem is, like I said, the pace of refugees arriving over the border has been surpassing the ability of all of the NGOs that are working in northern Uganda, as well as the UN Refugee Agency, to build this infrastructure in time to welcome them. But for the most part, once these refugees have been resettled, they have a very nice place to live. It's a lot of land that they're given, so this reduces the risk of outbreaks of communicable diseases like measles, cholera. The newly arrived refugees from South Sudan, we are hearing pretty much horror stories of what was happening across the border. Pretty much anyone that you go up and talk to, they will tell you, yeah, my brother was shot, or my father was shot, or my sister was killed. About 7 out of every 10 women arriving reports having been raped in South Sudan. At the moment, people are no longer coming across on the main roads because they're too high risk, that they'll get stopped, that they'll get arrested, that they'll get bullied or killed. So people are now crossing into Uganda by back roads or just through the woods. And the stories that we're hearing from people really are nightmare stories. So there's a big need for not only healthcare, but also mental health care to respond to the trauma that these people have seen in South Sudan on their way to Uganda. So now we're providing both long-term care for chronic patients that have mental health problems, and we're also providing psychological first aid for patients arriving from South Sudan with some sort of trauma. First of all, we are working on increasing the water supply. The first thing that you need to make sure people have in any refugee setting is enough water. So the minimum would be something around 15 liters per person per day. We've been motorizing boreholes, and we've been running a big artesian well that produces a lot of water for the settlement. We're also making sure that that water quality is good, so we do water chlorination activities, and we also do work with the community to promote hygiene. So we have teams of hygiene promoters. The other thing that we are working on is healthcare. So we have several clinics, and we also we have a small hospital. Some of the other activities that we're doing is making sure that everyone who arrives is vaccinated, that their vaccinations are up to date. For emergency cases, we will support where there's an influx of refugees and there needs to be emergently built some latrines to make sure that there's enough hygiene facilities. We'll be doing that, and we'll also be doing mobile clinics when there are new arrivals for refugees to make sure we can meet them where they're arriving. We don't know at what point the refugees will stop coming. At this point, the United Nations Refugee Agency, the non-government agencies that are working there are all stretched to their capacity. And even MSF, we've done about the maximum that we're able to do, and we are still seeing more refugees arrive. So at a certain point, we have to make decisions about how to have good coverage in healthcare, in water and sanitation, in food distribution, to support all of these refugees as they arrive without diminishing the care that we're giving to people that are already there.